Now, it's clearly evident that Justin, aka Glenn Close, has got to go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to KRS TV. This is your boy Kenny, and this is the Haves and the Have Not Season 7, Episode 2. And the name of this episode is Battle for the Past. As I said in the intro to this video, Glenn Close has got to go. And I'm gonna get into it, but let me start off at the beginning here. The episode picked up where it left off. Candace, along with Charles, have walked into the hospital, and the only ones who are in this room with them is Hannah, Derek, and Mitch. And immediately you just see that there's tension between Candace and Hannah. And Candace pretty much asked Mitch what was going on, and they said that, we haven't heard back from the doctor yet, but we just know that he's in surgery right now. And Landon was gonna send Charles was gonna send Landon to go find out what's going on, and Hannah was like, don't you bother that man. Don't you bother that man. Charles and Hannah go back and forth, and we see that he's being very respectful to Hannah. The complete opposite to what she gets from her own daughter. But Charles, but he introduces so Charles introduces himself to Hannah. Immediately, Candace starts with the BS. Can we sit somewhere else? And Landon says, well, this is the only part of the hospital that I had cleared, so we have to sit here. So they pretty much decided to sit there. And immediately, Hannah, being the mother, starts grilling him. Like, so how did you meet her? And he said that we met through a mutual friend, when really they met down at the Artesian. But and he pretty much says that I've grown very fond of your daughter. And Hannah was like, well, look, I voted for you, so and I voted for you because you stand for honesty and truth. So tell me the truth about how you so she's pretty much just telling me the truth because because he also said that, yes, she speaks very highly of you and all of that. And Hannah knows that shit's a lie. She knows that Candace ain't got never nothing good to say about her. And then, Charles tries to play it off like, well, she says good things about you. And Hannah was like, nah, I know you a true politician because you are lying through your teeth. And then Hannah was like, oh yes, I did tell him about you. I told him how much of a great grandmother you were to little Quincy, and how you protected him with your life. I'm like, ooh, Candace done started with the BS, and you can see the tension between Hannah and Candace. It was crazy. So they finally sit down, and and then Candace again starts off again with the BS, talking about, well, yeah, she was an amazing grandmother, so amazing that my son would be alive. And I'm like, ooh, like Candace is really digging at Hannah, and Hannah's like, what you say to me? She's like, you heard what I said. I said you're so amazing. And she's like, look, just because that man's sitting right there don't mean I won't get up and slap the piss out of you. I was like, that go a black mama for you. They don't play. And she's like, yeah, you would do that because you have no respect or no class. And she looked at Candace like, boo-boo, you don't know the first thing about having respect and having class. And then she begins to look at Charles and was like, do you know who you sitting next to? He's like, yeah, I know everything about it. It's like, so I'm pretty sure you've done background checks and all of that, right? And you still want her sitting next to you? And he was like, yeah, preferably, But she told him straight up that you ain't gonna last only but 4 years dealing with that thing right there. Talking about her daughter. And then Charles was like, well, I was actually going for 8. He's like, well, with this one right here, you only gonna get 4, 2 if you lucky. And then Landon tried to get him to go visit the sick children. He shut Landon down, and you could see in Landon's face he was crushed. And Candace picked up on it and started chuckling. I'm like, Candace, you wrong. Because she peeped it that Landon got some feelings for Charles. And she's kind of like, she's kind of seeing, she's seeing through the weeds, pretty much. Now, then we get a scene at Veronica's house. Veronica is drunk, just got out the hospital. She's there with her maid Allison, and she treats Allison like trash. She told, because somebody was knocking at the door. She tells Allison to get the door, but then she says, I need another drink. And she's like, where you going? She's like, I'm going to go get the door. She's like, no, pour me a drink first, and then get the door. Whoever it is can wait. Get me a drink first. And then she's like, oh, but wait a second. Did you wash your hands? And she's like, yeah. She's like, get over here. Let me see your hands. I'm like, you gonna tell this grown woman to come to you so you can smell her hands and see if her hands are clean? She goes like, oh my God, your hands are dirty and look at your nails. You know what? But you know what? Just go somewhere. I'll get the door. I'm so broken up and so messed up, and my maid is all stupid and don't know what the hell she doing. And I'm just like, Veronica is horrible. Like, Veronica needs to be put in an asylum. That's how messed up she is. So Veronica answers the door, and it's RK. And RK is just still being just as cocky and full of himself as usual. He pretty much, she pretty much said, so have you seen my son when you were down at the hospital? He said no. And he said that there was a lot of Secret Service people there and all that, and they go back and forth, and she's pretty much telling him like, look, I'm not in the mood for this, so just get out of my house and leave. This fool takes her drink out of her hand and starts drinking. He's like, nah, I ain't going nowhere. Besides, I'm a little parched and I need me some food. She said, if you don't get your ass out of my house, RK, get out my house. And RK is literally paying her dust. And he says, so what's the name of your maid? Allison. Allison. And Allison comes down. She's like, you are so beautiful. I was like, RK is a mess. Like, he is just literally paying Veronica no mind, telling her what he gonna do and what he not gonna do. I mean, because I think RK is getting tired of her crap too, especially when she poured that coffee on him. I think he feels some kind of way about that. So now he just giving her straight attitude and just giving her his ass to kiss. So he talks to Allison, you are so beautiful. And she's like, well, thank you. She's like, I'm really hungry. Could you make me something to eat? She's like, sure, no problem, sir. And she's like, so what do you have? She's like, well, I'm like, you know what? Let's just go into the kitchen and we'll find something together. And then she was like, you don't want her cooking for you. She don't wash her hands. She's like, well, I think we're okay with that right now, Allison. Let's just go get some food. That part had me rolling. I'm like, RK backing, still on his same cockiness, and he don't realize that he's playing with the devil. And lo and behold, we gonna see, because who knows? RK may be Veronica's match. We just have to wait and see. Because right now, for what I'm saying, RK is just talking a whole bunch of shit. And he could easily end up on the wrong side of things if he ain't careful. Especially with that damn crazy Veronica. So, then we see Jim is at the Artesian. He got the bellboy like literally running after him because he's trying to find the room that Catherine's in. He knows the room that she's in, and he's pretty much just telling the bellhop, you got to open this door. He says, sir, I cannot open the door. He says, look, you don't open this door, I'll open it for you. And then he just literally takes the key from the bellboy, opens the room door, And Catherine is in there with her threesome with Roderick and Rocky, and he pretty much tells them to get the hell out of the bed and all of that. Catherine's like, "No, y'all ain't gotta go nowhere. Stay right here." And he pretty much lets them know that, look, if you do not get your asses out of that bed right now, I'm gonna burn this whole building to the ground with the two of you in it. Now leave the bed now. And then all of a sudden he leaves, and then he tells Catherine, "So what's your problem?" And she says, "You are my problem. But hey, you know, I feel a lot better now that I had them two boys up in here." And then he pretty much says, like, "Those boys don't love you. You know, they don't want you." And she's like, "Nah, but they definitely are doing what they can to take care of me." And he pretty much says that, "Look, we got a problem. That the DA found out about my mole," meaning Sarah, "and we got to do something about it." And he said that Sarah came over the house and she was wearing a wire, you know, and pretty much, and then all of a sudden Catherine was like, "Oh yeah, one of your whores. What makes her 14?" But I'm like, man, now I see why you have so much sex. I mean, it's so liberating. It's so refreshing. I mean, these two boys came up in here and they put it on me. And then she was like, "Shoot, with your record, I got some catching up to do." I'm like, Catherine had me rolling in this whole scene because she was just literally giving Jim the blues. So he also lets her know that, look, they know about the bullets, and he says that you need to get serious about this because somebody's going to jail. And she's like, "Yeah, somebody is." And he's like, "Yeah, and if anything, I'm trying to keep your fat ass out of prison." She says, "I know you are, because if I go, we all go." Which is true, because everybody is benefiting off of Catherine and her money. And then she says, "And as far as you want to know, this fat ass, they wore it out and they loved it. You know, especially that Roderick. Roderick was doing the oh." I was like, Catherine, no! Oh my God, Catherine had me going all crazy with that scene. I was laughing so hard. And then all of a sudden Jim leaves and was like, "You're impossible." And she's like, "Yeah, and so are you." And she's like, I need a cigarette. And I'm like, they've done put it on her. So then we see later. So we see down at the lobby at the by the bar at the at the bar at the hotel. Forgive me, y'all. Roderick and Ricky and Rocky are talking, and you know Roderick was talking about his ex-wife or whatever, and still Roderick is still being cocky, saying that, "Yeah, but I'm still gonna make this happen, and I'm gonna get everything I want out of her." And then like Rocky's like, "Dude, you are being real cocky. You know, she got everything on us. She can ruin us." And he's like, "Well, not if I ruin her first." And then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, is that right?" And the next thing you know, we see that Jim overheard the whole thing, and he starts to rough up on Roderick, and we see that Rocky is scared for life. I'm like, yeah, he was just I was like, oh, Rocky, he had Rocky shook. And he just pretty much, you know, he pretty much first hit he hit Roderick in the groin, and he pretty much says that, "You are to keep away from my wife, and I never want to see you around my wife again." And then all of a sudden he's like, and then also he's looking at Roderick. He can see that Roderick is scared, but then he looks at Rocky and can tell that Rocky is shook. But then he looks at Roderick, and Roderick got a mad look on his face. He's like, "Oh, he still got an attitude. So obviously he ain't taking what I'm saying seriously. Let me try something else." And then he grabs him by his nuts and begins to squeeze. And he was saying that, "Yeah, now I got your attention. Yeah, I can have these things removed. Yeah, I can I got some friends in very low places who will give you a personal vasectomy if you continue to mess with me. Now I'm gonna tell you again, stay away from my wife. You better not come near her ever again, or there are gonna be some consequences." And then all of a sudden he says, so he pretty much like, finally, tells Roderick to get the hell out of here. And Roderick is all in his feelings and he is in pain because he was squeezing the jewels. And then he looks at Rocky. Rocky shook and he's like, well, don't just stand there, get me a drink. And give me some hand sanitizer. Neat. I'm like, that Jim is a mess. Like, Jim is really tripping. So then we see at the hospital or whatever, Jeffrey and Madison coming back from their dinner, and they run into Justin, aka Glenn Close. Again, this bitch has got to go. Because all of a sudden he goes at Jeffrey's like, I've been calling you, and he's like, you've been calling me? Yeah. I know you know that I've been calling you. And he's like, well, where have you been? He says, I've been out. Yeah, well, really? Out with him? And then all of a sudden, Madison's like, you know what? I gotta get to work. I ain't got time for this. I'll talk to you. And then he like pats Jeffrey on the shoulder like, I'll talk to you, Jeffrey. I'll talk to you later, Jeffrey. And then all of a sudden, this fool gonna knock his hand off something. Don't touch him. I'm like, boo-boo. Boo-boo. You don't own him? Like, he is like literally went to this point where Justin has got to die. Seriously, because this dude did the unthinkable on this episode. So all of a sudden he gets all aggressive with Jeffrey and it's like, I'm sick of this. So what you gonna do for the rest of the day? And he's like, I'm here looking after my father. Why are you asking me this? And he's like, look, I just want to know what you're doing today. See if we can I see you later, whatever. He's like, you know what? I'll see you later. I'm gone. He's like, so I'll see you later. He's like, dude, I'm busy. And then he all of a sudden, he just grabbed up on Jeffrey. He was like, look. And I was like, ooh, he's like, oh, okay. And then he just snaps and begins to beat the living shit out of Jeffrey. He is beating him down. And I'm like, Sadly, I don't feel sorry for Jeffrey because we have been telling Jeffrey over and over again that this guy is crazy and he, in his mind, think he can control him. Now you got a wake-up call. He's uncontrollable and he literally beat him up in the hospital. Madison come and pushes him off and then the guard pretty much pushes Justin down the hall and Justin's going off like, get off of me, get off of me, you want your job, get off of me. I'm like, yo, this dude is crazy boots. Now he putting hands on Jeffrey. So I'm like, what you gonna do, Jeffrey? And then we see that Madison goes to attend to Jeffrey. Jeffrey's being all smug. I'm like, oh, don't get in your feelings now, boo-boo. Now that your little love bug done beat your tail. You kept doing all this. He was doing all of this shit. And you still kept him around. Probably because you love the booty. And now you see that your piece done went ape shit. And now he beating your ass. So yeah, how you gonna work that one out? So then we see that back in the waiting room with with Candace and Hannah and everybody that was in the pretty much they Benny's still in surgery and Landon and Mitch actually Charles tells Landon, won't you go talk to the nurse and find out what's going on? And so that's pretty much what they end up doing. And he brings Mitch with him because Mitch wants to go with them to find out what's going on with him. And the thing is, Charles is being very respectful to Hannah and everybody there, and offered people coffee and all of that. So we're seeing that Charles, in and of itself is not a bad guy. But we see that Landon and Mitch find Benny. Benny is alive, and we come to find out Benny wasn't shot at all. Benny was stabbed. And I was like, Tyler Perry. Tyler. Really? Because Benny is getting on my last nerve, and he pissed me off in this episode too, because it's like, dude, you just almost had your life taken and you still on the same dumb shit that you were before. Now he's saying, I'm ready to get up out of here, I'm ready to go and all of that, and the doctor's advising him he needs to stay for the night, because his wounds are fresh and they don't want him to get an infection and all of that. But he ain't trying to hear nothing. He's like, so he ends up telling Mitch what happened, that he was sitting on the porch and some guy was riding around, and then he said 1 minute he was sitting on the porch and the next thing you know, this dude's on top of me stabbing me. And he's like, so you think it's your family? And Mitch was like, heck no, it wasn't my family. Like, my family's the mob. We don't go around, stabbing people. We end people. Like, bruh, are you serious? So I'm like, Benny is just clueless as hell, but he's saying he wants to go home and he doesn't want to stay. Back at the waiting room, we see that Derek and Charles start talking, and Derek tells Charles congratulations and all of that. They exchange pleasantries with each other. So then all of a sudden Hannah starts in again on Charles. Is like, so what you doing with my daughter? Are y'all together? Are y'all a couple? And Candace was like, no, we're having sex. He was like, first of all, and then like, Charles got some common sense, something that Candace obviously doesn't have at times, especially when it comes down to her mother. She was like, first of all, that's still your mother. Show her some respect. You ain't got to come at her like that. And then he was like, first of all, you don't know her, so don't say anything. I was like, that pissed Charles off. So we're going to see in the next episode how that's going to trickle down, because he's trying to mold her into a lady, but Candace still wants to be ratchet. So then Candace and Hannah started talking, and she was like, they were talking, going back and forth, and she was like, so what's really going on with you, Candace? What you doing with that man? She's like, look, I'm here to just find out what's going on with my brother, so just sit there and be quiet. And she was like, make me be quiet. I'm like, wow. So so pretty much the doctor comes and talks to them and lets them know that we have a problem. He's out of surgery, but he won't stay. And then we see Benny comes out there with Mitch, and he pretty much tells that he was stabbed and everything, and that he wants to come home or whatever. And then Hannah was like, okay, you can come home. He's like, oh, really? It's funny I had to be stabbed in order to come home. No, fool! You got thrown out because you kept the crier's money and you living up in Catherine's house. Stupid! I was like, yo, he got some nerve to be talking out the side of his neck. Like, bro, you lucky you breathing right now and you still want to be on this cocky, narcissistic BS that you're constantly on, Benny? I swear, Benny he just was like, I don't care, I'm going home. Like, I'll take the bus. I'm going. See, this is the shit that got you fucked up in the first place. That's why you in so much shit, because you always running your mouth and you never think before you do things. And if anything, if you weren't disrespectful to your mother and actually do what she asked you to do and give that money back to Jim, she would have never put you out the house. She put you out the house because you disrespected her and you did it in public. You made her look bad. I would have threw your ass out the house too, fool. Crazy ass. Whew, Benny gets on my nerves, y'all. Forgive me. So then, we see that Madison dresses Jeffrey's wounds after he done got that ass beat by Justin, aka Glenn Close. Yes, her fatal attraction has reached a whole nother fucking level. So he's dressing Jeffrey's wounds, and he's saying that, why do you stay? And he's like, what do you mean? He just won't leave me alone. And he says, well, do you think about getting a restraining order? But he's like, no, I didn't do that because, I think I can control him. Clearly you cannot. And then Madison was like, yeah, I used to think the same thing too. So pretty much the reason why he's been so hard about him getting away from Justin is because Madison was also in an abusive relationship. And he said that, so what happened? He says, well, I moved away and I never saw him again. And he was like, well, I can't move away. Then he says that, so pretty much he said that, I'll, so pretty much, I'm sorry. So Madison was like, yeah, we'll get a restraining order then, And then he's pretty much saying that, but he lost so much. He lost his wife and his family. And he's like, and what does all of that mean? Oh, because he lost all his family, you're indebted to him because of that? No. Him being reckless and him being stupid is the reason why he lost his wife and his family. And then, Madison lets him know, like, didn't this fool... Obviously, this man has nothing to lose. So that means he will rest at nothing to get what he wants. So, but then, like, he's like, I'm going to go see my dad. And then we got, I'm not even going to talk about this too long, about Wyatt and Sarah. Sarah is still waiting there on Jim. Wyatt is not trying to let her leave because Wyatt obviously wants to put his meat up in her. And he's with the two guards, I think Lou and Max, I think are their names. And, they going back and forth and everything. And we can see that Sarah is just over Wyatt. And Wyatt is just so eager and so over it and so aggressive. He won't let her leave. Like, no, I'm gonna try again. I tried calling my father and I wasn't able to get an answer. He ain't called nobody. This fool is just on some BS. And then the next thing the last thing we see, this fool goes upstairs, to say that he's going to sleep. This fool done went outside on the balcony and pretty much rigged a sheet and pretty much escaped, the house. I guess we're gonna see how far Wyatt will go. So then we see that Jeffrey finally meets up with David. We see that David got his clothes on. He's definitely gotten a lot better and he's ready to go home or whatever. And he's hoping that he gets out today. And he asks Jeffrey, did you find out what I asked you for? And he was like, yeah. But at first he was like, no, I didn't. But he's like, look, you can look on Erica's phone and, she had a laptop and all of that. But then he said that, look, Dad, Mom was at the house and she fell over the balcony. And she says that, yeah. And he said, did you push her? And he was like, well, no. I'm like, yeah, y'all pretty much was tussling and she just kind of went over. But she was trying it, though. But you guys say that, yeah, Jeffrey pushed her ass over there. He's like, you know how she kept taunting me and everything, but I wanted to push her, but it was an accident, but I wish I did it intentionally. And he was like, and besides, she won't die anyway. He's like, Jeffrey, that's still your mother. And I'm like, yeah, Jeffrey, that's still your mother, because even Hannah even said that, that's still your mom. But he's just had it with Veronica constantly attacking him for being gay, that he is just ready to go postal and ready to take her out. And then he says that, it's even worse though, besides Mom being at the house. And he says, okay, fine, you might as well just tell me. And he says Erica, and that Erica was working with Candace and Veronica. And then he also said that, look, I checked her phone. She was sending texts. She was sending text message to Candace, and then I saw her photo, and I remember meeting her at Candace's house. So now he realizes that Erica was playing him, and I'm just like, poor David. But yeah, because David really was falling in love with him, but we knew the whole time that Erica wasn't shit, and that's why her ass got burnt up in that car. So then he pretty much, David is just kind of blown at this. And he was like, so you mean to tell me that the whole time Candace and your mother were working together to set me up? They don't even like each other. He's like, yeah, but I guess they teamed up for that one situation to take you down, to put Erica onto you. And he's asked, are you still on good terms with Candace? Won't you give her a call? He calls Candace and it goes to voicemail. David's mad as hell. and he's pretty much saying, call my doctor, I'm not staying in this place another minute, get me out of here. And then Madison comes in and was like trying to advise him to stay. He's like, look, I know the director of this hospital, you know, you're a nurse, right? So you can attend my wounds at home, you know, but I don't want to be here another day. I'm ready to get out of here. I'm ready to go home. And then after he left, Madison looks at Jeffrey, was like, man, your parents are stubborn. And he's like, yeah, but he can't leave. And Jeffrey's like, go and tell him that. So I'm like, yeah, he's stuck in his ways, and nothing's gonna change that. So then, yeah, so I already talked about Wyatt escaping. Then we see that Madison is on the phone talking to Jeffrey. You know, he's at the parking lot and everything got cleared. He the director of the hospital said that he can be pretty much like a live-in nurse, you know, with you know, taking care of David. And then, you know, even when David was like, yeah, and Jeffrey would be there every day too, so you'll get to spend more time with him as well. So I was like, that's a win-win, you know, as far as Madison, because you know Madison won Jeffrey and Jeffrey and all his craziness. But then now I can see why he's more patient with Jeffrey, because he went through a domestic violent relationship as well. So he's on the phone talking to him, and he in the parking lot. He goes to his car, and his car has been completely vandalized. Windows busted, the tail lights busted, dents in the sides. Justin messed that car up, and he's telling him, oh my God, my car has been destroyed. And Jeffrey was like, oh my God, that damn Justin. He's like, look, you know, and he's just like, yo, I need to figure this out, because this is crazy, you know. And then while he's trying to, and Jeffrey's like, look, won't you just come back up here? He's like, no, I can't. I need to figure this out. And the next thing you know, we see somebody hit him upside the head with a crowbar, and we already know it's Justin's ass. So that's why I said Glenn Close has got to go. She has done entirely too much, and I'm ready for her to die. Like, yes, Glenn Close and all of her shenanigans can go to hell. So that's what I have, everybody. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also follow me on all of my social platforms. I have them all listed in the description box. Also like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I'll be back with the next episode of The Haves and the Have-Nots. So until next time, everybody, take care.